Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
They always told us not to look out the glass. This ain't a nature walk, Sharon Kwan would bark from her desk. But that afternoon, I saw the dog first. Mud-colored mutt, built like a retired linebacker, just sitting by the ER doors like he had a shift to punch. Earl McCready, our parking guard, leaned over his stool and grinned. "He's all right," he said. "Calls himself Lugnut." I cracked half a smile and kept rolling the transport chair toward VIP 7. Quick note: before we continue, share in the comments which city or country you're listening from. It helps us see where you're tuning in from and figure out the best time to post new stories. Thanks. Now let's get into it. My name's Pierce Everhart. I'm 58 now, but this happened when I was 32 and working as an OTA aide at River District Hospital in St. Clair County, Michigan. I kept my head down. Transfers, stretches, showers. Get it done, go home. Do it, don't talk it. That was my lane. Home was Lena, my kid sister, and her boy Ben, who thought peanut butter was dinner, and anything with wheels was a miracle. Sharon caught me looking out that glass panel by the nurse's station and snapped, "If you have time to sightsee, you have time to chart," loud enough to turn heads. I gave her a nod like I'd heard it, didn't say a word. VIP 7 was a new admit. Male, 67, left total hip, range of motion check. When I opened the door, he was already halfway through a crossword. Thin guy, wire-rimmed glasses, gray hair trimmed tight. He looked up slow and said, "You the muscle?" I nodded. "OTA aide. We'll do some movement checks." "You look steady," he said. "That's good." His name was Hank Prescott. Said he used to build schools and hospice centers. The kind that don't turn a profit, he joked. Not condos. He didn't dress rich, no logos, no watch, but his eyes missed nothing. I asked how long he'd been waiting. He said just long enough to see who worked and who watched. "You like the job?" he asked while I worked the leg through a slow extension. "I like the part where people go home stronger." He grunted approval. "Most just say the hours are long." About 10 minutes in, the door swung open like a gust hit it. Woman in heels, maybe mid-50s, crisp blazer, one of those PR smiles that never met the eyes. She blocked the doorway with a purse like I was trying to sneak a camera in. "I'm Ramona Prescott," she said, like I should already know. "I'll just be here a minute." Hank didn't even flinch. "He's fine, Mona. Let him work." She didn't sit. Just scanned me head to toe like I tracked in dirt and muttered something about checking the board schedule. Then came the kid. Ronan Prescott, stepson, maybe late 20s, cologne thick enough to knock a moth down. He had one of those phones with a mic boom stuck on it, already recording himself. "Big day, big build," he said to the camera. "Gonna talk legacy branding tonight. Waterfront vibes. You know how it is." He barely glanced at Hank. More interested in the lighting near the window. Hank let me finish the session anyway, slow and steady. Thanked me like it mattered. When I asked if he wanted to rest, he shook his head. "You mind walking me to the window? I'd like to see the river." We moved slow, one hand on the walker, one arm light on my shoulder. He stood there quiet, just watching the current. Back in the lot, Earl was feeding the mutt some beef jerky from his coat pocket. "Saw you watching him earlier," Earl said. "His owner got clipped by a car a few blocks out. Dusk hit, driver didn't stop. Old man didn't make it, dog stayed." "What's his name again?" I asked. "Lugnut. Won't leave. Shows up same time every day." Inside, I barely made it 10 steps before Cal Rusk, our COO, flagged me down. Navy suit, shaved head, clipboard always in hand. "That new admit, Prescott," he said. "He comfortable?" "Yes, sir," I said. "No issues." "Good," Cal nodded. "Keep it that way." Then he turned on his heel and walked off like he'd ticked a box. I didn't know it yet, but I'd just stepped into something bigger than transfers and range checks. I was folding towels at the end of my shift when Hank said it. No build-up, no smile, just clear as weather. "Would you be my son for 2 weeks?" I looked up, waiting for the punchline. He didn't blink. He was sitting on the edge of the therapy table in Gym 2, a towel around his shoulders, water bottle in hand like he was just talking weekend plans. "You serious?" I asked. He nodded once. "Dead serious." I laughed, short and awkward, then set the towel down. "You feeling okay?" "There's a mixer next week," he said, like I hadn't answered. Harbor Row Loft. Big school funding project. Legacy Circle wants family in the room before they sign anything. I need someone steady. You came to mind. I leaned on the counter, crossing my arms. "Don't you have a whole family already?" He looked past me then, at nothing in particular. "That's part of the problem. My real family's complicated." I said, "That's every family." "Maybe. But mine doesn't like buildings that don't flip a profit." He pulled in a slow breath, then looked back at me. 2 weeks. You don't have to lie. Just be there. I'll handle your schedule." "You think I can just walk out of here?" I said. "I got Lena and my nephew at home. No wiggle room." "That's why I asked you," he said, and not one of the talkers. The door creaked open behind him before I could respond. A tall woman stepped in, black slacks, navy blouse, clipboard in one hand, and a garment bag in the other. Her heels didn't make a sound, but everything about her said she didn't miss much. "Tessa Quill," she said, offering a hand. "Personal assistant to Mr. Prescott." I shook it on instinct. She handed me the garment bag. "Dress code, logistics, who to avoid," she said. "Start with the white folder in front." "You already planned this out?" She smiled without warmth. "Mr. Prescott doesn't like wasting time." I opened my mouth to argue, but Sharon Kwan's voice echoed down the hallway before I could. "Pierce!" She stormed into the room like someone had lit a fire under her. "What is this?" She pointed to the folder like it was a bomb. "You're on shift, and you don't get to go rogue with patients." Tessa stepped between us, calm as concrete. "There's been a schedule adjustment." "By who?" Sharon snapped. "Hank's attorney," Tessa said. "Cal Rusk signed off. You'll find the HR note by now." Sharon turned red, then pale. "You're not qualified to—" Tessa cut her off. "You're not fired, just redirected. You'll manage." Sharon looked at me like I'd stolen her damn shift. Then she turned and walked out without another word. I exhaled slow and quiet. Tessa nodded at me. "You'll be introduced as Pierce, the quiet nephew. Public story only. Behind doors, Hank said to keep calling him Hank." I shook my head. "I don't want to feel like a thief." She paused. "Then don't take anything. Just show up and stand straight." I grabbed the folder and the garment bag. "This real? Like actually happening?" "Already is," she said. "Car's outside." I stepped out, still half in scrubs, half in disbelief. The hallway smelled like sanitizer and burned coffee, and for a second, it felt like I was walking away from a job I never planned to leave. Earl found me by the vending machine. He was holding a yellow rope, frayed at the ends, like something he'd been working on for hours. "Lugnut's leash," he said, holding it out to me. "Owner's name was Mr. Dobbins. Didn't make it through the night." I swallowed hard. "Thanks." "Dog's been sleeping under the fire exit," Earl added. "Goes quiet when kids walk past. Good instinct." I nodded and took the rope. That evening I opened the front door to our little rental with Lugnut trotting behind me, ears up, eyes scanning every corner. He stood in the entry for nearly an hour, tail still, just staring at the door like he was waiting for someone else to walk through it. Ben came out in his pajamas, rubbed his eyes, then grinned when he saw the dog. Lena walked out from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "You bring home a bodyguard?" "Stray from work," I said. "Lost his guy last night. Earl said he wouldn't leave." She crouched and gave Lugnut a scratch behind the ears. "Looks like he found a new crew." I smiled. "You want chili?" She pointed to the microwave. "Already waiting. Don't forget to eat." That night, after Ben went down and the house went quiet, I sat at the table with the folder open. Timelines, maps, names, dress codes. Tessa didn't leave room for guessing. I texted Hank. "Are you sure about this?" He replied a minute later. "Already sure." Next morning, Tessa met me at the employee lot with 2 cups of coffee and a sharp black bag that probably cost more than my rent. She ran through the cover again. "For press and name tags, you're Hank's nephew. Son stays between you two." I nodded. "Right. You'll have handlers at Harbor Row. Don't talk unless prompted. Don't engage on money or politics." "I'm not a performer," I said. "I fix joints." "Then stay steady," she replied. "That's what he wants." We got to Hank's suite just as the sun broke through the blinds. He was sitting in a recliner, legs covered, reading like nothing had changed. When I reached for his water, he stopped me with one hand and gripped my forearm. Not light, not casual. Like a father checking for bone. "I appreciate this," he said, low and even. "You don't know how much." I didn't say anything, just nodded. I didn't realize how much I needed that grip until I walked out the room and felt it still on my arm. Next morning, Ramona showed up on the rehab floor in heels that clicked like a timer. Hair tight, outfit sharper than the clipboards, walking like the hallway owed her rent. She wasn't visiting Hank. She was staging something. She pointed at 2 of the newer nurses, told one to route the respiratory consult to Hank's bay, told the other to double-check the vitals chart for optics. Then she spotted me. I'd just stepped out of the fitting room Tessa booked next to admin, the kind of place that measures your inseam like they're fitting you for a coffin. I was still buttoning the shirt when Ramona froze, blinked once, then smiled too wide. "Lovely that staff feels included," she said. I'd seen that smile before, usually from people in boardrooms who already decided what you were worth. I said nothing, just nodded once and kept walking. That night, I sat on the couch next to Lugnut, flipping through Hank's event prep folder. My phone buzzed twice, a DM from an account with no followers, no name, just a photo of me in scrubs, the hallway behind me, tagged with "glow upcoming" and a winky emoji. Burner account. Probably Ronan. I blocked it and tossed the phone face down on the counter. Tessa had set up a haircut and second suit pickup that afternoon, plus a 15-minute crash course on how to stand like you belonged. "When you don't talk, you become the mirror," she said. "People see what they want." She wasn't wrong. I got more nods in one day of silence than a month of actual words. Back in the locker room, I found a laminated badge jammed behind my spare shirt. Facilities access only. Misspelled name, wrong font. Could have been a screw-up. Could have been bait. I slipped it in my back pocket anyway. Half an hour later, Sharon caught me near the elevators and said, "Just so you're aware, the hospital has a policy against soliciting gifts from patients." I blinked. "What?" "Just making sure you know," she added, voice syrupy, like I'd already been caught doing it. "I'm not asking Hank for anything," I said. She gave me a look like I'd tracked mud into her kitchen. "Let's hope it stays that way." Before I could respond, she turned and left. That evening, Hank requested one more PT session, slow range of motion work before surgery. I helped him sit upright, guided his leg through the stretch, felt the tension in his quad release under my hand. "Whatever happens in that loft," he said, "keep quiet for me. 2 weeks, Pierce." He was staring at the ceiling like it was a clock. I nodded. The next morning I was halfway out the door with Ben's lunch in one hand when my phone rang. "This is Albright Cleaners," a voice said. "We had a spill incident on your suit jacket. Can fix it for $210 cash, but we'll need a rush pickup." I didn't say anything for a beat. "I didn't send anything to Albright." "Right. Sorry. Must have been a mix-up." I hung up and texted Tessa. 10 minutes later, she cursed under her breath and called a different vendor. "They're trying to make you look like help," she said. "We're not playing that game." By late afternoon, I was back on the unit, checking transfer belts when a woman in black slacks and a cropped gray jacket stepped in. She moved quiet. No clipboard, no badge, but with that posture that says she doesn't need either. "Pierce Everhart?" she asked. "That's me," I said. "You a nurse?" "No." "Kira Holloway, SIU investigator with Brenson Mutual. Mind if I ask a few questions?" I nodded slowly. "This about Hank's coverage?" "Partially. Two things crossed my desk this week. An office fire at one of Hank's buildings on the river, and a body shop invoice flagged as possible hit and run. Dates match close. When patterns clump, we check all of it." I motioned for her to follow me to the break room. We sat by the vending machines. "I wasn't there for the fire," I said. "Don't even know where the building is." She jotted that down on a small notepad. No voice recorder, just pen and paper. "Anyone here you'd suggest I talk to?" "Earl McCready, parking guard. Keeps a handwritten log." "Smart," she said. "Digital logs get overwritten." "Also," I added, "there was a dog, Lugnut. He belonged to a guy named Mr. Dobbins. Got hit by a car a couple nights ago. Earl said the dog stayed in the lot ever since." She looked up. "Same intersection?" I nodded. "Interesting," she murmured. "Dogs remember more than people think." She stood, smoothed her jacket, handed me a card. "If you see anything, unusual cars, people asking odd questions, anything, text me. Photos help. Keep it off the work record." I took the card and tucked it in my front pocket. She didn't look like a cop. She looked like a math teacher you don't lie to, the kind that already knows your answer before you open your mouth. That night, at home, Lena was wiping down the counter when I told her about the cleaner scam and the locker pass. She didn't ask for details. Just looked over at Lugnut, who'd posted up by Ben's shoes again like they were his post. "You trust any of this?" she asked. "I trust Hank," I said. "And Tessa. That's not the same as trusting the setup." "I know," I said, "but it's enough for now." She didn't argue, just handed me a dish towel and said, "Dry these." I burned the first finger pressing my shirt that night. Midnight habit. Same one from when I used to iron my scrubs in the dark so Lena could sleep. Lugnut stayed by the window, eyes locked on the street like he was pulling security duty. I felt the same. Next morning, Sharon met me in the back hallway with a linen cart and a smile that didn't match her eyes. "Need you hauling linen to the dumpsters. Big load today." I raised an eyebrow. "Is that in my scope now?" She leaned in a little. "Stay humble, Pierce. The loft isn't a promotion." I didn't answer, just grabbed the cart and rolled. When I got to Hank's room, he was already prepped for surgery. Two nurses adjusting his blankets, IV in place, chart clipped to the footboard. He looked calm, like he'd already settled whatever storm was waiting. He tapped his chest twice and mouthed, 2 weeks. I nodded, gripped the back of his chair, and wheeled him toward pre-op. I walked Lugnut near the visitor lot that night, long leash, slow pace, letting the dog do what dogs do, sniff out corners and ghosts. The lot was half empty, streetlights buzzing like old thoughts. We made it past the third row when Lugnut stopped cold. Stiff back, ears up, then a low, rolling growl. That's when I saw it. A matte gray Camaro slid into a crooked spot near the edge of the fence. Crooked grill, one headlight slightly fogged, and a drone decal on the back window like it belonged to a wannabe tech bro. Driver had a flat bill cap pulled low, couldn't see his face, but I heard that laugh. That cracked up, cocky half-yell people do when they think the world wants to hear them win. Ronan. He peeled out fast, tires shrieking, like the asphalt owed him something. Lugnut lunged forward once, leash snapping tight in my hand. Then he just sat, tense, watching the taillights disappear like he'd clocked the car. No bark, no whine, just fixed on it like it was personal. I headed back to the booth. Earl was restocking his coffee thermos with a packet of cheap powder that looked like it expired last year. "You see that Camaro before?" I asked. "Gray one?" he said. "Crooked grill, drone decal?" "Yeah. That kid's been sliding through here odd hours, never longer than 8 minutes. Pulls in, checks his phone, punches the top of his roof like it's a drum, then bounces. Earl walked into the booth and came back out with a beat-up spiral notebook. I still keep a ledger. Digital stuff gets wiped too easy. Force of habit. He flipped through pages, running his finger down some pencil scrawl. Here. Camaro. Late night. Day after the river office fire. Same car again, 2 nights later. Same time Dobbins got clipped. I looked at the dates. They lined up too well. You keep camera backups? Just angles. But the entry logs match these. I log the makes myself. System just stamps time and gate. I'm gonna pass this to someone, I said. Earl nodded. Only reason I keep notes is because people stop noticing patterns when their paycheck's steady. I texted Kira that night. She called me back 20 minutes later. Short tone, no small talk. Tell me everything you saw, she said. I gave her the Camaro make, the crooked grill, the drone sticker, Earl's notes, the growl from Lugnut. She asked for entry times, license plate if I had it, and what direction the car left in. I can't promise anything yet, she said, but patterns matter. I hung up and sat with that phrase in my hand like a screw waiting to be turned. Next morning, Tessa met me near the service elevator, handed me a small plastic badge with Guest Family printed in silver. She held out her other hand without speaking. I pulled the fake facilities pass from my back pocket and gave it to her. She looked at it once, then snapped it in half. The crack echoed in the hallway. Good, she said. They'll be looking for excuses. Hank awake? Not yet. You'll see him after recovery. She walked off before I could ask anything else. Later that day, I checked in on Hank's chart and found a scribbled note in his handwriting taped inside the folder. If I'm groggy, don't let me wake up alone. Bring the dog if you have to. It didn't say please. That night at home, I told Lena about the Camaro, the ledger, the timing. She leaned against the counter and said, "So what's your plan?" "I trust Hank," I said. "And Tessa. That's enough for me to keep showing up." "That's not a plan," she said. "That's a decision." She wasn't wrong. I went back to ironing the shirt I'd laid out for the Harbor Row mixer. Midnight habit again. Same motions, same creased collar. Scorched the same spot on my index knuckle. Same old habit. I didn't even flinch this time. Just ran it under the tap and kept pressing. Lugnut curled under the window, nose twitching like he could still smell Ronan on the breeze. When the fridge clicked on, he didn't move. Only noise he reacted to was engines. Sun wasn't even up when Sharon found me by the supply bins and handed me a linen cart stacked so high I had to lean sideways to see over it. "Loading dock. Haul it to the outside bins," she said. "And don't forget, keep perspective. You're not royalty just because you're crashing a cocktail party." I didn't answer, just gripped the cart and walked. Later that morning, 2 nurses wheeled Hank toward pre-op, IV bag swinging gently, white blanket tucked tight. His eyes caught mine just as they turned the corner. He tapped his chest twice and mouthed it again. 2 weeks. I gave him a nod and stood still until he was out of sight. Harbor Row loft sat over the river like it was floating on money. Glass walls, polished steel beams, spotlights that turned every entrance into a catwalk. Even the floor looked like it had been waxed by hand and blessed with champagne. Tessa walked beside me, crisp black blazer, face set in neutral. As we hit the check-in table, the woman behind it gave me a once-over, smiled like it hurt, and slid a red badge across the table. "Vendor access," she said, already turning to the next guest. Tessa didn't blink. She slid the badge back across, cool as a blackjack dealer. "He's family," she said, then handed over the silver one marked Guest, Family. The woman didn't argue. She didn't have to. The correction landed loud enough. Inside, people floated from cluster to cluster, old money, young teeth, all of them wearing wine glasses like jewelry. I kept my hands at my sides and let the noise roll past. Hank was still in post-op, recovering, but per his note, I was here to be visible, just steady, not memorable. Tessa peeled off to speak with a foundation rep near the stairs. I found a spot near the edge of the room, by the west-facing window, where the lights didn't catch your eyes. I could see the river curving like a spine below us, slow and wide, pulling everything downstream. 5 minutes in, a server passed with a tray full of stemware and no eye contact. As he turned near me, his foot caught a rug that didn't move, and a full glass of Merlot tilted straight down my sleeve. Cold and sharp. Instant stain. "Shoot," he muttered, half smile. "So sorry." Before I could react, a camera flash popped. Some guy with a DSLR had it raised before I even wiped my hand. He didn't look surprised. Felt planned. I stepped back toward the hallway when the lights dimmed, and a voice hit the mic like it had been waiting for cue. "Ladies and gents," Ronan boomed, slurring just enough to sound expensive. "Let's get this legacy rolling." Music cut mid-beat, and the crowd pivoted toward the stage. Ronan stood under a spotlight, one arm in the air, holding a whiskey glass like he was toasting his own reflection. "Big applause for my new uncle," he said, pointing directly at me. Every head turned. Behind him, the screen lit up. Split image. On the left, me in scrubs, sweat at the collar, ID tag clipped crooked. On the right, me in the new suit Tessa picked, standing near Hank's recovery chair, hand on the walker. Caption underneath: "Before the inheritance, after the inheritance." Laughter rippled through the room. Not loud, but soft and sharp. That polite kind that stings worse than yelling. My throat locked up. I saw Ramona in the back, arms folded, eyes not on me but scanning the room, watching reactions like she was counting votes. She didn't look mad. She looked curious, like a woman watching a building lean. Then the phone started buzzing. Whisper level first, then louder as people turned their screens to each other. AirDrop notification lit up on mine. File name: Trust Fraud PNG. A screenshot of a private chat, my name, my photo, some fake handle, and a message that said I was flipping details about Hank's estate into crypto. Selling early access to trust movements. None of it real, but slick font, watermark, and a timestamp that made it look official. Tessa reappeared behind me. She didn't ask what happened. She already had the screenshot open. "The metadata's wrong," she said under her breath. "Wrong time zone, wrong device string. Cheap fake. Amateur hour." She yanked my jacket sleeve, pulled me behind one of the black velvet curtains near the stage stairs. It felt like being shoved into a closet with panic. She reached under a side table and pulled out a clean jacket. Charcoal gray, no stain. "I stashed this just in case." "Was this always the plan?" I asked. "Make me the show?" "No," she said, "but they were always going to try." "Why me?" "Because you're the one Hank picked." She paused. "Don't give them extra." I slid into the new jacket, rolled my shoulders, stepped back into the light. On stage, Ronan leaned into the mic like he was introducing a halftime show. "Uncle Pierce, come say a few words. This man has seen our dear Hank through recovery, and now, well, he's part of the family brand." A few chuckles scattered through the room. Someone near the bar said, "This ought to be good." I didn't want to go up there. Every part of me wanted to leave the suit behind and grab the dog and drive home to Lena and Ben and forget this garbage ever happened. But I remembered Hank's hand gripping my forearm, his voice saying, "2 weeks, Pierce." So I walked up, slow, no applause. I took the mic from Ronan, who stepped back with a smirk. I didn't clear my throat or smile. I just spoke. "I work with people who are trying to get back on their feet," I said. "That's it." Silence. Then a single cough. Then a few muttered chuckles. Someone booed from the left side of the room. Not loud, but loud enough. I handed the mic back and stepped off the stage before Ronan could throw me another spotlight. Tessa was waiting by the stairs. She didn't say anything. Just tapped her knuckles against my arm like, "You stayed upright." In the corner, Ramona was still watching. Not me, not Ronan. The room. Reading it like a ledger, And somewhere behind all the clinking glasses and quiet snickers, I could feel the ground start to shift. I walked straight out the side exit and let the cold air slap me clean across the face. The breeze off the river had bite to it, like it didn't care who I was or how badly the night just went. I gripped the railing with both hands, leaned forward, and stared at the dark water curling slow below the loft. All that glass and laughter behind me, and I felt like the only real thing standing in miles. I thought about Lena and Ben, about how I was supposed to be folding laundry and helping with spelling homework. Instead, I was standing there in a borrowed jacket with red wine stains on my sleeves and a room full of people ready to laugh me into the ground. Amazing how fast people decide what box to drop you in. Once they think they've seen your price tag, it's over. Doesn't matter who you actually are. Footsteps came quick behind me, but I didn't turn until I heard her voice. "Pierce, stay still." Tessa's breath was short. She handed me a sealed envelope with a blue ribbon across the top. Her hands were shaking, which made me straighten up fast. "Hank's okay," she said. "Surgery went fine. He's stable. But this changes everything." I took the envelope and peeled it open slow. Inside was a notarized letter, dated that morning. Hank's signature was at the bottom, ink still fresh. It said he'd created a delayed trigger trust. I wasn't the heir. I was the trustee. 1 year. Full operational control, oversight board included. The school and hospice build funding would flow through me, not the family. His note in the margin, "This is a test." Tessa watched me read it all. Then she said, "The 2-week thing wasn't about optics. He wanted to see if you'd hold the line when it got ugly." I let out a breath that felt like I'd been holding it since Tuesday. "And tonight counted as ugly." She nodded. "They tried to humiliate you out of the picture. Ronan's not subtle." "No," she said, "but Ramona is." My phone buzzed in my pocket. Kira's name on the screen. I stepped away from the railing to take it. "Camaro?" I asked. "Passenger side's damaged," she said. "Got new timestamps. Need you at the lot tomorrow morning." "I'll be there." She paused. "Stay sharp tonight. Someone's pushing hard to distract you." I hung up and looked back at Tessa. "Kira's still on it," I said. "That car might tie in tighter than we thought." Tessa checked the lot behind us, then stepped in closer. "Ramona filed for temporary guardianship this afternoon," she said. "She's claiming Hank's susceptible to manipulation. There's an emergency hearing in 72 hours. The words hit harder than the cold. That means she's trying to take everything. "If guardianship sticks, she can dissolve or freeze the trust," Tessa said. "Call it a family asset and reroute funding. All those projects, school wings, hospice beds, done." I looked down at the letter in my hand. "I'm not taking a dime from this." Tessa met my eyes. "Then don't. But use the title. Protect his people." It didn't feel like a win. It felt like holding a sandbag in a storm. I pulled out my phone again and called Lena. She picked up on the third ring. "Hey," I said. "I'm gonna be late." She didn't ask why. She just said, "Bring home bread." She only said that when things were bad, when we didn't have answers, just bills and worry. It meant, keep moving. It meant, don't come home empty. "Yeah," I said. "White or wheat?" "Surprise me." She hung up and I stood there, just me, the river, and the echo of a night I couldn't rewind. My fingers went numb from the wind, but I didn't move. I didn't cry. Not because I was too tough, because I felt stupid. Like I should have seen it coming. Like I'd walked into a setup wearing a name tag that read, Target. But the anger helped. That was familiar. That grounded me. I folded the letter back into the envelope and shoved it in my inside jacket pocket. I knew where I needed to go next. "I'm heading to find Earl," I told Tessa. She nodded. "I'll get copies made. We'll prep the board packet tonight." "You always this calm?" "No," she said. "I just know how to stay vertical." I didn't smile, but I didn't need to. I turned and walked back down the gravel side path, heading toward the booth. I had a name, a time, a car, and one stubborn parking guard who'd rather miss lunch than miss a pattern. We'd start there. Earl was already outside the booth when I got there, holding a sandwich bag with a blue zip drive inside like it was a detonator. In his other hand, that old spiral notebook, pages dog-eared, names and times scrawled in sharp pencil. "I ain't CSI," he said, "but I know a pattern when it taps twice on the glass." We walked into the back room by the maintenance shed. Concrete floor, folding chairs, one dusty monitor, and a desktop that probably ran on hopes and duct tape. He stuck the drive in and pulled up the clip. It had no music, no narration, just the hum of bad lighting and the roll of tires on cracked pavement. Timestamp read 9:11 p.m. Camera angle faced the south gate. Ronan's matte gray Camaro rolled in, front end scraped, passenger side mirror swinging like it got clipped in a car wash. He didn't park, just idled, checked his phone, punched the roof twice, then backed out fast. The whole thing took maybe 4 minutes. "Mr. Dobbins got hit at 9:03, I said. 2 blocks from here." Earl nodded once. "Lugnut still shows up same time every night, like he's waiting for him to walk back." I glanced down. Lugnut had followed us in, quiet as ever, but when the Camaro came on screen, he barked once, loud, deep, and sharp. Then he went stiff, just stared at the screen, tail low, ears forward. "Dogs don't lie," Earl said. "They just remember." It spooked me how sure he was. I texted Kira. She showed up 20 minutes later, crisp black slacks, windbreaker zipped up to her collar, clipboard already out. She greeted Earl like she'd worked with him 10 years. "Walk me through your notes," she said. He flipped open the spiral and pointed at 2 lines. Handwritten times, make and model, one marked, gray Camaro, roof slap, no idle. Next to it, fire site log, same night. 2 nights later, same pattern, same log. Kira snapped photos of the pages, then turned to me. "Digital records match?" I nodded. "Gate entries, yes, but the system doesn't label car types." "Old school ledger holds up better in hearings anyway," she said. "Chain of custody's clean if we start now." She copied the files to her encrypted drive, bagged the original zip, then jotted a quick list on her legal pad. "Also," she added, "I pulled the lab report from that river office fire. No match on the accelerants. Doesn't match any of the construction supplies or adhesives inside. It was torched, not sparked." "Let me guess," I said. "Ronan has access?" "More than access. He's listed on the holding company that owned the site. But we're not ready for charges. Yet." I looked at the ledger again. "You think this fixes what he pulled at the loft?" Kira's eyes flicked up to mine. "I don't investigate gossip. I investigate fraud and harm. Let their gossip rot itself." "Fair enough." Back at the hospital, we started prepping for the guardianship hearing. Tessa took point on the logistics, getting Hank's legal team lined up. She was running on cold brew and righteous fury, barely blinking between calls. Hank stayed under observation for another 24 hours, but the chief of medicine, Dr. Levitt, filed a clean cognitive eval and signed it in front of Kira. No impairment, no risk of undue influence. That report went straight into the court packet. The morning we filed, Sharon tried her usual last-ditch nonsense. I got pulled into her office, where she slid a formal write-up across the desk. Violation of patient-staff boundaries. I read it once and said, "What exactly did I do wrong?" She adjusted her glasses and sniffed like the paper had an odor. "You know this hospital's policy on staff soliciting special favors." I didn't solicit anything. "Intent is difficult to prove," she said, "but it's about optics, Pierce. And yours are complicated." Before I could reply, Cal Rusk walked in. He took one look at the write-up, lifted it off the desk, and dropped it straight into the trash can. "We respect our donors' wishes," he said, "and we're not in the business of undermining legitimate family support." I didn't say thank you. I just stood up and left, wanting to scrape the whole day off my skin. That night, I walked Lugnut past a local Camaro dealership near the south edge of town. They had 3 models on display in the glass showroom. As soon as we got within 20 feet, Lugnut froze, sniffed the air, then growled deep in his throat. His eyes locked on the matte gray one in the front corner. "Thought so," I muttered, and snapped a photo of the front grille for reference. Next morning, Kira's precinct contact called. They'd pulled repair estimates from a body shop 2 miles west of the hospital, same direction Ronan had peeled off that night. Invoice was time-stamped at 11:47 p.m., marked impact with object, pedestrian suspected, matched to a matte gray Camaro, front-end damage, passenger mirror repair included. "Owner?" I asked. Names blacked out on the public print, but the payment card's linked to a family trust. Same one Ronan uses for his gas charges. We had enough. At the emergency hearing, the court clerk stacked our exhibits like they were bricks. Video timestamp, ledger scans, body shop invoice, digital log exports, and the accelerant report from the River office fire. Kira stood beside us in a blazer that made her look like someone you don't question unless you like losing cases. Ramona's lawyer talked fast, claimed stress, family concern, financial mismanagement, said I was a stranger to the family, unfit to manage any estate, said Hank's letter was heavily influenced by outside parties. The judge didn't blink once. She read through the timestamps, held the body shop invoice to the light, scanned Earl's notes. Her mouth stayed in a flat line the whole time. Then she looked down at the guardianship motion. Court finds no cognitive impairment, no credible threat, and no emergency, she said. Petition denied. Stamped. Filed. Done. Tessa let out a breath so deep I thought she might fall backward. I didn't say anything. Just rested a hand on Lugnut's back and waited for the room to clear. We had one win, and we weren't done. 2 weeks later, Hank rolled into the heirs brunch in a wheelchair with his color back, his hands steady on the armrests, and Tessa walking at his shoulder like she'd been doing it her whole life. I was a few steps behind, quiet, in the same charcoal jacket from Harbor Row. I didn't need a mic. My job was to stand and not flinch. The brunch was held in the glass atrium of the Upper River Club, full of people who liked using the word legacy when they meant money. Cloth napkins, name cards with gold print, and a jazz trio off to the side like a warm-up act for betrayal. The smell of mimosas and perfume mixed with politics. Ramona was already working the floor when we arrived, doing that soft voice PR spin like she'd never filed guardianship papers or whispered to lawyers behind closed doors. She even leaned down toward Hank and brushed his arm. "We're just so grateful you're doing better," she said, smiling wide enough to make strangers feel it was real. Hank didn't respond, just nodded once and looked toward the stage like he was ready to be done. Meanwhile, her PR team wasn't quiet. I caught one of them murmuring to a donor, "I heard the logs were tampered with. Look at the timing. It's suspicious, right?" Another one said, "They say the parking guard's notes don't even match the digital logs. Someone's massaging the evidence." Tessa didn't say a word. She just glanced at Kira, who had slipped in through the side door 5 minutes earlier with a laptop case and a single manila folder under her arm. No blazer this time, just a dark sweater, sleeves rolled, eyes sharp. She walked to the stage and asked for the mic. The host looked nervous but handed it over. Kira didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "I'm Investigator Kira Holloway, Special Investigations Unit, Brenson Mutual," she said, like she was reading it off a form. The room started to shift then. Not physically, but in energy. People sat up. Forks went down. One of the PR reps tried to whisper, but even that felt loud. Kira set her folder on the podium and opened her laptop. "On the evening of March 12th, she said, an elderly pedestrian, Mr. Dobbins, was struck and killed 2 blocks from this location. 8 minutes later, this vehicle entered the hospital lot." She tapped her keyboard. A screen behind her flickered to life, showing the grainy footage from Earl's booth. The gray Camaro pulled in, passenger mirror cracked, front end scraped. Clear as daylight. Date stamped dead center, March 12th, 9:11 p.m. A few people gasped. One woman dropped her napkin. Kira continued. Following that, a repair invoice was submitted by a nearby body shop at 11:47 p.m. Same vehicle, same damages. Payment routed through a trust account linked to Ronan Prescott. Ronan stood up halfway, lips tight. I wasn't driving that night, he said. That was my driver's car. Kira didn't blink. Here's the tow receipt, signed by you, time-stamped 37 minutes after the hospital lot entry. She held it up. Ronan stared at it like it was written in Greek. Then he tried to pivot. This is a setup. Parking security probably staged that car for clicks or leverage. Earl, who had been standing quietly in the back corner, tipped his cap forward. Nope, he said. We just kept receipts. No laughter this time. The room went still. People looked at their plates like they didn't know what food was. A few avoided eye contact altogether, the way people do when they realize they picked the wrong side. Kira closed her laptop and stepped down without another word. Hank raised his hand slightly. The host gave him the mic. He adjusted it once, then spoke without notes, without even clearing his throat. There's been a lot of noise lately, he said. A lot of questions about who gets what. Let me answer clearly. He pulled a folded document from his coat pocket. His hand was steady. I set up a delayed execution trust 2 weeks ago, he said. It's not for my family's comfort. It's for the public work I care about. That includes hospice builds, school expansions, and transitional housing for seniors. He looked at Ramona. You will not be managing any part of it. He turned slightly. Ronan, you will not be near a company car again. Ever. Then he looked straight ahead. For the next year, the trust will be overseen by an independent board. Day to day, the trustee will be Pierce Everhart, because I've seen him keep his head while the rest of you threw dirt. It hit like a cold wave. Not angry, just final. Ramona tried to recover, voice syrupy sweet. This is a family process, she said. We're all working toward the same. Tessa cut her off without a word. Just walked table to table handing out copies of the notarized documents. Some people actually read them. Others just held the pages like they were looking for somewhere to hide. Then Ronan lost it. He kicked back his chair, knocked over a water glass, and shoved a plastic security post as he stormed toward the door. You're all gonna regret this. I'll sue every last one of you. Don't think I won't. No one moved. No one followed. Hank turned to me and said, Let's get some air. I nodded, stepped behind the chair, and wheeled him out the side exit, far from the cameras, the wine glasses, and the people who didn't laugh this time. Back at Hank's house, I dropped the suit, pulled on a hoodie, and did what I knew how to do. Ice packs, assisted lifts, careful weight shifts. Ankles, hips, back. Slow work, nothing fancy. The kind of stuff that doesn't show up on headlines but actually fixes a man. We did it 6 days a week. 7th if Hank felt stubborn. His recovery chair sat in the den near the front windows, where the light came in just soft enough for a nap if you tilted the blinds right. Lugnut claimed the rug there like he paid rent. Every afternoon, he'd trot over with a sock in his mouth, always one of Hank's, and drop it beside the chair like it was a trade deal. Bribery works, Hank would mutter, and hand over a cracker or a slice of apple. And every time he'd laugh through the aches, which meant more than any range of motion score on a clipboard. The trust board started meeting in a strip mall conference room next to a payday loan shop. The chairs squeaked, and the coffee tasted like boiled pennies, but we got things done. First month, we greenlit repairs on a high school roof and ordered a new hospice van for a facility 2 counties over. It wasn't press-worthy. It was quiet. And it mattered. The DA opened a case on Ronan, leaving the scene, obstruction, potential fraud on the fire claim. He didn't stop posting cars on his feed, not even subtle ones. Like a dare. Like he thought the law was bluffing. His lawyer finally yanked the phone and posted a black screen that said, "Hiatus for healing." Nobody bought it. Ramona filed an appeal on the guardianship loss, stalled her divorce, blamed misinformation in a glossy PDF her assistant sent out to donors. It didn't land. One museum quietly dropped her from a gala committee without any press release, just deleted her name from the banner. Her smile stayed perfect, But her phone stopped ringing. Sharon, for once, kept quiet. No more whispered warnings. No more policy lectures in the hallway. Just paperwork. Cal Rusk, though, he shifted. Started calling me Mr. Trustee every time he passed me in the lobby. His tone sat right on that line between respectful and don't forget who's watching. I didn't need the reminder. I already felt the weight. Tessa saved me from more etiquette landmines than I'll ever admit. Handshake timing, who to sit beside at events, which board members like facts, and which prefer praise. She was direct, unshakable, and never flinched when I pushed back. We stayed friends and left it there. Clean line, no mess. Kira kept her distance, no lunches, no ribbon cuttings, just emails with subject lines like update, Oakenlang Cam, and attachments that spoke louder than any toast ever could. I liked that about her. She moved quiet, hit hard, and never asked for applause. One afternoon, Hank looked over at me while I was rewrapping his knee and asked, "You want a condo? I could deed one over. Stability and all that." I looked at him and shook my head. "Use the money. Buy more rehab equipment. Half these places are running 20-year-old lifts." His eyebrows went up, but he didn't argue. Just nodded once and let it be. Around the same time, Lena got offered a front desk job at a clinic run by one of Hank's former partners. She took it, started saving for a car, even had a spreadsheet taped on the fridge. Ben didn't wait. He picked the name in advance. "Red truck," he told me. "She's gonna be red, and fast." At night, I'd sit at the table filling out grant approvals, and he'd lay toy cars across the floor like he was mapping out a whole city. Lugnut watched from the couch, only moving when someone knocked on the door or a gray car passed on TV. A couple blogs started calling me the mystery heir after the brunch leak. Tried to spin it like I was some secret son or a rags to riches ghost story. But Hank shut it down in 3 words during an interview. "He's a caretaker," he said. "Doing his job." I slept better after that. Not because it erased anything, but because it said exactly what I needed to hear. Nothing more. A year later, I signed the final report of my trusteeship at a folding table in the basement of the outreach center, Lugnut curled under my chair, pawing my boot every 5 minutes like he thought I'd forget he was there. We'd funded 7 school roofs, 3 buses for mobility-challenged seniors, and a speech lab for kids in a county that couldn't spell budget surplus if you spotted them half the letters. The handoff went clean. I passed the chair to a full-time director, a woman who had more degrees than I had wrenches in my toolbox. She'd earned it. No ego, no photo ops, just clear eyes and a binder thick enough to kill a snake. After the meeting, Hank wheeled up next to me with a folder in his lap, and that same half smile he always wore when he had a pitch. "What if we start a new branch?" he asked. "Animal and patient support. I've seen what Lugnut's done for this house." I didn't say no. I said, "One condition. We cap admin costs and publish every bill." Hank grinned and held out his hand like we were shaking on a lawnmower, not a fund. "Deal," he said. Ramona's divorce wrapped quiet. No emergency hearings, no press fights. The court called her guardianship attempt strategic interference. She kept the condo, a few paintings, and her maiden name, but the donor invites dried up like someone turned off a faucet. One gala dropped her name from the program 3 days before showtime. No explanation needed. Ronan pled out. 18 months probation, license suspended, 200 hours of community service at a shelter he once called a branding risk on video. The judge played the clip in court, full volume. You could see the color drain out of him like somebody pulled a plug. He looked small. Not sorry, just small. I didn't chase revenge after the night at the loft. I didn't have to. The truth did what it always does when you give it enough time and paperwork. It sticks. Tessa still texted before every board meeting. Dress code reminders like she thought I might show up in coveralls just to mess with her. Last week she sent, "No sneakers, Everhart." I texted back a photo of steel-toe work boots sitting on fresh tile. 2 minutes later, "You're insufferable." "Only part-time," I wrote back. Kira transferred to DC early that spring. She didn't tell anyone except Earl, who got a package 2 weeks later. A thank you coin from her unit with a handwritten note. Patterns matter. He taped it to the inside of his booth, right next to a photo of Lugnut sitting in his chair like he owned the lot. Sharon took a position across town. New badge, new hallway, same need to feel taller than everyone else in the room. Cal Rusk stuck around, but something shifted. His voice when he said, "Trustee," the way he didn't cut off my sentences anymore. He finally started using my name without weighing it first. I got better at talking into microphones. Not good, just better. Learned where to pause. Learned not to grip the podium like it might run. I still hated the flash of cameras, but I showed up, spoke clear, then went home. Hank got his steps back one at a time. Still stiff on cold mornings, still needs a spotter for the deeper squats. But we keep at it. He'll tap his chest twice sometimes and look out at the river and say, 2 weeks, and I'll shake my head and say, yeah, sure, and I just came to drop off towels. It always makes him laugh. I still keep my boundaries. Home by 8, dinner with Lena and Ben by 7:30 if I can make it. Lights out by 10. Lugnut owns the couch now. He doesn't chase squirrels, but he still growls at matte gray cars on the TV like he remembers. People ask sometimes if I regret turning down the condo Hank offered, if I wish I'd taken the easier road, the cleaner title, the faster track. I tell them no. I gotta keep my name clean. I gotta keep the work honest. In my world, that's the win that sticks. Would you have done what Pierce did? Walked away from easy money just to keep your name clean? If this story resonated, please leave a comment, or just write "great story." It truly helps the channel. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and tap like. One click from you keeps these stories coming. Thank you for being here.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.